you have a ton of fear and embarrassment around blushing still, and you're just tired and you feel exhausted dealing with this, and you're considering surgery or medications or just like giving up and you feel hopeless, this is for you. Because you might have been trying to apply maybe some of the things that I've taught you or some of the things that you've seen online if this is your first time seeing me, and it's still not working, right? You still feel ashamed. You're still turning beet red. You're still obsessing over this. And you're probably wondering, like, is this just who I am forever? Am I stuck this way? Is there no way out of this? I have coached people through this exact moment. You are not alone. And so I want to show you exactly what is going on beneath the surface and also give you some tactics and just some heart-to-heart inspiration to get you back on track. So if you are dealing with that, this is the best video that you can possibly watch. And I encourage you to stay to the end because you're going to learn many different mindsets and many different perspectives that I think are going to help you a ton based on what's worked with my clients. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Colin Clem, and I overcame my embarrassment and my fear around blushing for good after 10 years of dealing with it. And I did it without using makeups or creams or therapy or medication or surgery or anything like that. And now I run a coaching program called Breakthrough Blushing University, where I help dozens of other blushers overcome the same problem, that fear and that embarrassment, and finally achieve the confidence that they've been looking for. And I make these videos really to give away all my knowledge for free, to give you a taste of what it might be like to work in my program as a client. And the ultimate goal here is that a portion of you decide to become a client of mine, so you can overcome this much faster, much easier, and much more enjoyable than trying to do it solo. And I always have links below these videos with a training and more information about my program, as well as an application if you're ready to apply, if you feel like it's a good fit for you. And we can chat and see if it is a good fit. But today, I want to give you some tactics, mainly around this feeling of being tired and exhausted, explain why it's happening, and give you just a heart-to-heart talk, as someone who has helped people through this. So that way you can leave this video feeling more empowered and have a greater sense of optimism about the future. And so what I want you to know is that, first of all, you are not alone. Like I will have clients who join my program and, maybe they're doing well at first, or maybe they're struggling right from the get-go, but they sort of hit this wall, some of them, and they stop making progress, or they don't make progress at all. And they feel exhausted. They show up to the call with their shoulders down, their head down. They're talking with low energy. They almost sound dead, right? They're talking about how they've been trying everything, but what I'm telling them just isn't working for them. And so they get discouraged, they lose hope, and they feel like they should be farther than they are. And they're at a point where they're just ready to be done with this, right? So when you reach this point where you feel like you're not making progress, it feels like you're so far away, and it feels like you're never going to overcome this. And so I have taken a lot of time to figure out what is going on, right? Because I get it. I know how it feels in that moment. It's just been so long for me that I forgot what it was like in that moment. So I took some time and I figured out what is happening and how can we get you back on track. And if that sounds like you, then I have figured out some approaches that have worked for my clients that I think will work for you too. And I have determined that the reason that this happens for people, the reason that you hit this wall, is almost always because you're playing the wrong game in your head. When you do this right, you're not going to feel defeated. You shouldn't feel super tired. You should feel optimistic. You should feel excited. That is a sign that you're doing this right. If you're watching my videos and feeling defeated or tired, your mindset is still just focused on the wrong things. Because what's draining you is not the blushing. It's just what you're focused on. You're not broken. You're just playing a game in your head that you cannot win. And so I want to outline 5 reasons, 5 different ways that you might be thinking about this wrong, that are keeping you tired and keeping you stuck. And I'm going to start with reason number 1, which is by far the most common, which is you're judging your success by whether or not you blush. So I will get people who will reach out to me and they'll tell me that, they love my content, they love my message, but they're still considering surgery. They're still considering medication, or they still wear makeup. They do these things because they're tired of dealing with this, and they're at a point where they feel like they can't go on any longer. And if that sounds like you, then I really want to point out two problems with that. First is that you still believe that not blushing is the goal. You still see not blushing as the desirable outcome. And you think that the second problem is that you think that surgery or medication is going to give you the relief that you're looking for. But I want to change your mindset on this. I want you to realize something. There's basically two paths that you can take. You can try to continue to control the uncontrollable, trying to get yourself to stop blushing, trying to change the way that you look, the way that you were born, the way that your body operates. That's path number one. Or path number two is you can choose to become confident in who you are. Focus on the things that are in your control. And I know you might be thinking, but Colin, I'm just tired. Like, I just need relief. And yes, I am willing to risk any potential health side effects if it means getting mental relief. But I want you to realize what problem you're trying to solve. You're here to solve insecurity. You're trying to be confident, right? Like, that is what you're here to solve. You are not here to solve the blushing. You're here to get the feeling that solving blushing will give you, or at least you think it will give you. And the feeling that you want is the feeling of confidence. It's the feeling of not obsessing over what everybody is thinking about you, right? Now, here's the dilemma, is you think that medication and surgery will do that. You think that it will solve the blushing, and therefore it will solve all the fears that you have of the judgment from other people. But in reality, if you're willing to change the way that you look, the way that your body works naturally, out of fear of what other people think of you, do you believe that your fear will get stronger or weaker? If you think it'll get weaker, you're wrong. Because what's happening is you're taking this made up judgment from other people. It's almost all made up, guys, by the way. It's almost all made up. And you're going to change the way that your body operates. You're taking on negative health effects in order to give in to that fear. That fear now has complete power over you. You have just made it acceptable to change things about you in order to appease the judgment of other people. All these other people and their judgment now have complete power over you and your mental well-being. And so sure, you might not blush anymore, but do you think that makes you secure in your identity? Do you think you're going to be more vulnerable or less vulnerable to the judgment of other people on other things? I would argue more vulnerable, because you have just made it a precedent that you care more about their opinions than your own health. That you're willing to change the way that you are to please them. Who is in control of your life at that point? Is it you or is it them? Taking medication, getting surgery to solve your blushing does not make you confident. Do you think confidence comes from a pill? Do you think confidence comes from a knife? Confidence comes from showing what you're capable of. Confidence comes from feeling secure in who you are. Confidence comes from not obsessing over what random people think about you. Choosing medication and surgery is not going to give you the outcome that you want. Even if your goal is to not blush, it is not the promised land that you think it is. It just makes you weaker. It just makes you powerless. Choosing to not blush should not be your goal. If that is your goal, it is not leading you down the path that you think it is. It is not an option. The only option out of this, guys, the only option to true freedom is to learn to be confident in who you are. And the way that I encourage you to look at this is to be the hero in your own story. Think about the people that you look up to. Are the people that you look up to most in life, celebrities, people around you, are they people who had it easy? Are they people who were born with insane beauty, insane genetics, like that you just like, they're just lucky and they just had a life where they just coasted through? Or are they people who had some adversity? They faced difficulty. They did something hard. They did something that earned your respect. They posted on social media. They put their thoughts out there for the world to see. They overcame a physical disability. They overcame poverty. All of these things. These are the things that actually earn respect. And so it's your effort. It's facing adversity that earns people's respect. And so if you truly care about what other people think of you, this is your opportunity to earn their respect. This is your adversity. This is an opportunity for you to create a story that you will someday tell. And a good story does not come from an easy life. Think about the best movies you watch. The character gets to a point where it literally seems like there's no way out. The harder the challenge, the more epic the story. And so the more difficulty you can go through right now, the better the story will be on the other side. You should want hard. Hard creates better stories. Hard creates more meaning. You will live a happier life when you can look back and feel proud of what you've done. Do you believe you will be proud about taking medication or getting surgery? To give in, with the caveat of the fact that you're doing it to give in to other people's judgment. It's not to make you feel good. Let's be honest. It's so you can stop being afraid of what other people think of you. And so you need to stop judging your success on whether or not you blush, because that's not in your control and it's making you miserable. If you keep playing that game, you're playing a game where the rules are rigged against you. You need to change the scorecard by which you're judging your success. And so instead of asking yourself, did I blush? You need to ask yourself, did I do what I wanted to do even though I knew I would blush? Did I make myself proud? Because if anything, try to get excited to blush. Because in those moments, when you are blushing and you're choosing to focus on something bigger, that is when you start taking back power from it. Your scorecard cannot be, did I blush or did I not blush? You need to stop playing that game. The rules are rigged against you. Choose a scorecard that is in your control, where you can win each day, where you can win your own confidence and win your own respect. That is the only way out of this. Be the hero in your own story. Stop trying to wish for an easy life. That's just the first reason. This leads me to the second reason, which is you're judging yourself for having thoughts. Oftentimes people will feel exhausted because they're judging themselves for the intrusive thoughts that come in their mind. Like I had one client recently who came to me saying that he felt super tired, right? And so I asked him several questions, and he said some statements that exposed the entire problem. He said something along the lines of, I shouldn't be worrying about this. It's so hard to accept. It takes so much effort not to think about, right? I'm so busy. I'm so tired. I can't be putting in this much effort and worrying about this. And I was like, that's it. That is your problem. If that sounds like you, you're believing that you shouldn't be dealing with this. You believe that you shouldn't be having these thoughts. But here's what I'm going to tell you. You cannot control intrusive thoughts. And trying to do that is what makes them stronger. Trying to fight your own brain and the way that it works is the real exhaustion. You're playing yet another losing game. No wonder you were tired. Instead of judging yourself for the panic thoughts that enter your mind, you have to judge yourself on how you handle them. So do not worry about if you get thoughts of what if you blush? Oh no, you're going to blush, because you're going to get them. You cannot control that. But what you can control is everything that happens after that. Everyone gets anxious thoughts. Everyone. Whether you deal with blushing or not. Like every human on earth gets anxious thoughts. So what separates the people who suffer and live in agony versus those who succeed and those who live a life that isn't bothered by this? I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. And what I'm about to say, I feel very confident in. And it's going to be something that might be massively controversial to some people. And I don't know why, because I think that believing what I'm about to say is empowering. You should want to believe what I'm about to say. You don't have anxiety. You just experience anxiety. And yes, you might experience anxiety more frequently, but it's all because of the way that you're thinking. And yes, of course, there's physiological symptoms that can increase the likelihood of you going into panic. Of course, if you drink a bunch of caffeine and your heart rate's elevated, that you're going to be in a mode where you're more susceptible to feeling anxious. Absolutely. But the anxiety itself is psychological. The main reason that you have intrusive thoughts, or the main reason that you have so much anxiety, and the reason that it has so much power over you, is because you see them as something to be afraid of. You see them as a problem that must be solved. The problem with that is because anxiety itself is just a fear of something out of your control. And so when you fear anxiety itself, guess what that gives you? More anxiety. Panicking about panic is what causes a panic attack. And so my personal experience in dealing with this, with anxiety, with depression, with all of these things that cause intrusive thoughts that can scare you, is that the solution to anxiety, to panic, to intrusive thoughts is not judging it. It's not fighting it. But instead, it's just by noticing it, saying, I'll be fine, and focusing back on something else that is more important. And so with blushing, what that means is you feel the panic setting in. And then instead of telling yourself, oh no, here it goes again. Oh no, I shouldn't be dealing with this. Instead of saying that, you just say, okay. And then you focus back on the person who's talking to you. And sure, I know that sometimes I say these things and you're like, Colin, but it's not that simple. I know. Or it is that simple. It's simple, not easy. And the first few times that you go to try this, you're going to feel uncomfortable because what's going to happen is your body's going to try to give you these intrusive thoughts. And it's going to tell you, hello, you're in danger. You've already learned in the past that this makes you super embarrassed. You need to get out of here. You need to get out of this situation. It's going to try to tell you this, guys. But right now, you logically know that that is not true. And in that moment, you just need to show it that it's not true. You just need to prove it to your brain that it is not true. But here is one of the paradigm shifts that I want you to have, is that you claim that that is too tiring to do. You're telling yourself that that is exhausting to do that, to sit there and prove that it's not embarrassing, to prove that there's no reason to panic. You're telling yourself that that's tiring and exhausting. But do you think that that is more tiring than actually going into panic? What? Going into panic, freaking out, looking for a way out, trying to that is way more exhausting. If you just refuse to respond and then you just focus back on reality and you let the thoughts attack you and you just sit there And you just make one conscious decision to not give in to them. And you just like take what happens and you don't have to do anything. You just have to just prove that it's not going to kill you. All that takes less effort than having a mental conversation in your head, feeling yourself turning red, looking for an escape route, looking for an opportunity to shift the attention away from you. That is tiring. You're tired because you're resisting your reality. The intrusive thoughts are going to happen. And you can let those prevent you from ever achieving your goals. That's one option. Or you can just see them as an uncontrollable factor and build your dream life anyway. Focus on what you can control. You cannot control the thoughts, but you can control the way that you respond to them. Feel them, focus back on reality, and continue on. No matter how strong they try to attack you, you logically know that you are fine and that you are safe and that there's nothing to be, that there's no threat. And so you just stay strong and you just stand there, you just sit there and you focus back on the conversation. You feel the thoughts. You're like, oh my gosh, you're annoying. But you focus back on the thoughts, or you focus back on the conversation and not the thoughts. Okay? So that is the second reason. Those are by far the two most common reasons that I've seen. But there's still three other reasons that I want to go through with you. The third reason is you might be exhausted because you're trying to solve the blushing problem instead of building a new identity. What I mean by this is that sometimes ruthlessly attacking the problem is the best way to solve it. Sometimes just focusing all your energy and saying, this is not going to bother me anymore, I'm going to prove it wrong, like having this relentless focus is what will allow you to make the fastest progress. But sometimes the best way to solve a problem is just to decide that it's not a problem at all. So if you're in a spot where you feel like it's just too hard to identify the beliefs that are going on in your head, and then like going into situations willingly, trying to prove these old beliefs wrong. Like if you feel like this is too tiring, just takes too much energy, then what might be best for you is to decide that blushing is not a problem anymore. And you just focus on your life. Focus on a new mission. Focus on a new identity. So to give you an example in my life, when I was going through this, I was kind of doing both, right? Part of me was in this like, screw it. I'm going to face my fear. I'm going to prove this old fear wrong. And I'm going to show that there's nothing to be afraid of. And then the other part of me was just focused on acting toward the goals that I had for my life, to be valedictorian, to be a good business owner, right? One day. I thought of what would that person do? What do I need to do to become that person? And I just had that in mind. And I decided that blushing is not going to play a factor anymore and that I'm going to live the life that I want to live. And when I decided that, when I decided becoming valedictorian or becoming confident, becoming outgoing, all of these things, when I decided that they meant more to me than the potential judgment from my classmates, that is when I started overcoming this. That was a choice that I made, right? I was willing to take criticism from my classmates about my face turning red because I knew what my real goal was, the real goal that I cared about. If anyone tried judging me, I could say, that's fine. Go ahead, judge me. That's not the game that I'm playing anymore. You're playing by an entirely different scorecard than I'm playing by. I care about living up to my potential. I care about being the best that I can absolutely be. And yes, that includes potentially taking judgment from people like yourself who I could not care less about. And that matters more to me than anything that you could possibly say to me. And so for you, it might be helpful to not make blushing the center of your story anymore. Maybe it's causing you to feel exhausted because it's all that you're thinking about. Because if you think about the real end goal here of watching my content, listening to these videos, trying to do this, the real end goal of all of this is for you to never need to listen to me again. Think about it. You want to get to the point where you don't even think about blushing. Like you're just living your life and you're like, oh yeah, I used to deal with blushing. That's the point that I've been at. It wasn't until a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago now, that I started even thinking about blushing again because I saw people that were struggling and I wanted a way to help. I lived my life for 6 years without even thinking about blushing. That's the point that we want to get to, right? Because it's just like think about somebody who's an alcoholic, right? And stay with me for a second. The reason I bring this up is because somebody who's an alcoholic who wants to stop being an alcoholic, what does it feel like to not be an alcoholic? If you're not an alcoholic versus an alcoholic, somebody who's not an alcoholic just doesn't think about alcohol. Like it's not even an urge that they get. So how do you not think about something? How do you get to that point? Well, it's by relentlessly, at least in my experience, it's by relentlessly focusing on a bigger mission that means more to you. Saying no to all those old urges and just relentlessly focusing on something larger than yourself or something larger than alcohol. Because at that point, and let's bring it back to blushing, something larger than blushing, because at that point, blushing becomes an irrelevant factor. And so what you need to do today is decide that blushing is not going to hold you back anymore from becoming the version of yourself that you'd be proud of, from achieving the goals that you have in life. And that is a choice that you can make at any time once you are ready. And then when you go about your life, instead of thinking about this as solving blushing, don't even think about situations as like blushing moments versus non-blushing moments. Just look at life through the lens of the goals that you have and what it takes to make your dream life a reality. And yes, sometimes you will feel an internal conflict. You're going to have these thoughts of, Colin, you're turning red. This is a little embarrassing. And you just have to have something that you care about more that says, no, it's not embarrassing. I'm proud of doing this. This is bringing me closer to my goal. And that is your choice. And it's in those moments where people succeed or people fail. Do you think that the people that you look up to did not have challenges like this? It might have not been blushing, but do you think that they had their own insecurities? Do you think they had their own fears? Of course they did. They had their own self-doubts. They had their own mental limitations. But guess what? They cared more about the vision. They cared more about building the business, about building the brand, about posting content, making an impact, becoming the best in their sport, whatever it is, whoever it is that you look up to. They cared more about the gift that they wanted to share with the world, or the skill that they wanted to build, or the impact that they wanted to make. And they said that that matters more than any fear that I could possibly be feeling right now, or any insecurity, or any self-doubt. And I'm going to be selfless, and I'm not going to be selfish anymore. And I'm going to stop obsessing over how I feel in the moment, and I'm going to maximize how I feel over time. And that comes from feeling proud. That comes from building something that's larger than blushing. And so focusing on the symptom, trying to focus on what's actually happening to you day to day is tiring. Just focus on something so big that blushing is irrelevant. That's how you solve it. And that leads me to number 4. The fourth reason why you might be tired of dealing with this and feeling exhausted is because you're just trying to follow my advice too literally. Or you're trying to follow the advice of whoever it is you listen to. There's not a ton of people out there talking about blushing, but you follow my advice too literally instead of what inspires you. And trust me, this is a trap that I fall into all the time, especially with things like running this business, right? I'm trying to build this business. I so desperately am trying to make this become huge. I want this to be a business where any blusher who is dealing with blushing, who feels stuck, they come to me and I can help them, right? And so I try to follow all these online mentors for everything, instead of just doing what feels right to me, following my gut. And oftentimes that leads me down the wrong track, and it creates so much internal friction, and it causes this to feel like a drag. And so for you, the way that this might look is for you to, instead of trying to like memorize the things that I say or the points that I make, like instead of trying to do that, because when you do that, you have a blushing situation happen and you're like, okay, what do I do again? Oh, what did Colin say? It's not working. And you feel like you're grasping for air. You can't logic your way out of this all the time. I encourage you to have your path forward based on logic. It has to make sense logically in terms of like, if you face your fear, you're going to be less afraid than if you continue avoiding it, right? That just logically makes sense. So that way, that's enough for you to start thinking about, okay, I need to start facing this. But for you in the moment to be dealing with this, or to get you to actually take action, you should not be choosing the thoughts or the identity that worked for me. You need to choose the thoughts or the identity or the mission that works for you. Let me give you a crystal clear example of this. I actually went to a dinner a couple of weeks ago with 5 strangers. So this is something that I do every Wednesday. Highly encourage you guys to do this as well if you want to get out of your comfort zone. There's an app called Time Left. They have, it's all over the world. It's in Europe, it's in US, it's in any major city. They will collect people who are looking to meet other people, and you sign up on this app and you all get assigned a random restaurant. And you don't know who you're meeting up with until you get there. And it's always people around your age. So that always helps. But I did this, and I do this every week now on Wednesdays. And at the dinner 2 weeks ago, I asked people their hobbies. I'm like, hey, so what are your guys' hobbies? Because nobody was really talking, and I wanted to spark some conversation. And eventually, everybody went around. They were saying their hobbies, and it came back to me. And I was like, they're like, I tried changing the topic. I tried just like moving on and saying something else. And they're like, wait, you didn't tell us your hobby. And so instantly, right, I'm called out a little bit. I start feeling a little bit of, pressure. And then I'm like, actually, I don't even like have any hobbies. That's what I was trying to ask you guys about. So that way I can get some ideas. And they're like, what? You don't do anything outside of working? And when that happened, I instantly turned beet red, like anybody would, right? Almost any human that has a nervous system that functions would turn red in that instance, because it is getting called out like that in front of all these people is a little bit embarrassing, right? And so in that moment, I felt myself turning red. And something I want you to know, actually, this is incredibly important, is that to this day, when that happens, I still get the thoughts of, you're turning beet red right now, Colin. Everyone's seeing you turn red. I still get those intrusive thoughts to this day. But instead of responding with panic, I know how to respond. And in this instance, I thought to myself, this is perfect. Like, this is an opportunity right now to set an example for all of my clients and all the people that I teach online, to show them how to handle this. And I kept smiling, and I kept talking, and I didn't try to shift the attention away from me. If anything, I saw it as a challenge. Like, how long can I sit here? And so within 30 seconds, because I was in this mindset, I was calm again. Honestly, it might have taken 10 seconds. I don't even remember. It was quick. Now, that only happened because I didn't try to fight it. Because I saw it as an opportunity to take action on the identity that I cared about. I want to be a leader for you guys. That is what inspires me. That's what fires me up. And because it's an identity that I truly value, someone at that table could have just sat there and pointed out the fact that I was turning beet red. Somebody could have done that. And guess what would have happened? I would have said, I know. Because in my head, I'm not seeking your approval. I'm not seeking their approval. I'm seeking your guys' approval, the people listening to this. I care about what you think of me. And honestly, even more so, I care more about me doing what I know I'm capable of. And so I care more about all of that than what these random strangers think of me. And so if you're right now trying to quote unquote not care anymore, that's one of the messages that I share, sure. But I find it hard to just stop caring about something. You can, if you try, like if you can absolutely make that choice for some things. And if you're also trying to just memorize what I say, or you're trying to replicate what works for me, none of those things might be working for you. So instead, you need to find the thing that fires you up. And the real way to not care is to care more about something else. That is how you stop caring, is when you care more about something else and you're willing to make that trade. See, your desired identity, it has to come from, in your day-to-day life, it has to come from your values, not mine. And so that story of thinking about you guys, it only worked for me because I truly care about you guys. And I truly enjoy being seen as a leader. That is what I value. And so when a moment comes like that, where I am tested, it becomes my opportunity to build the identity that I want, instead of it being a threat to my existing one. And so when you're in those situations, like you can't just sit there and be like, oh, I need to be a leader for all the other blushers out there because that's what works for Colin. If that doesn't fire you up, then it's not going to work for you. You need to find an identity that actually gets you excited to build, and one that allows you to stay strong in blushing situations. Even more so, one that turns blushing situations from situations that destroy your identities to one that builds it. And so maybe you want to be an example for your children, to show them what being strong looks like and being confident in yourself looks like. Maybe you want to be a good worker, where you're focused more on participating than being comfortable. You're focused more on giving a good presentation than whether or not you turn red. And turning red is irrelevant to giving a good presentation and being a good worker. Find the identity, the thing that you actually care about more than turning red or not. Find the thing that fires you up. Find the life that you want to live. And start living it. And make the trade. And saying, I'm okay if I blush because I care about this life more. That's okay. That's a trade I'm willing to make. And then you make the trade. But it first starts with the emotional commitment. This is your life. This is your story. This is not anyone else's. You just need a mission that you believe in. That you believe in more than other people's judgment. That's what you need. And it has to come from you, no one else. Find the thing that lights you up. You're exhausted because you're not inspired. You wouldn't be tired if you were inspired. So that's reason number 4. And now I want to move into reason number 5, the 5th and final reason. And that could be the reason that you are exhausted, the reason that you're tired could be because you're lonely, or you have no one in your corner, either physically or mentally, who you are doing this for. I believe that a large part of everything we do is to seek approval from other people. The job you choose, the place you live, the things you post online, the habits that you try to pick up, getting in shape, a lot of the desire for these things, it comes from trying to gain social status. And so it's just a huge part of who we are as humans. Like, it's a survival mechanism. It's trying to be a part of the group. No one likes to be ostracized, because when we were in the olden days, being ostracized meant that you were going to die, essentially. Either because when you were left alone, the odds of you surviving in the wild were much lower. And so we felt a need to be part of a community where we felt safer. And so we try to fit in, right? We try to gain status amongst the group. But in today's world, that is not relevant. That is not relevant at all. In fact, because you have access to the world and you're no longer in these local communities, you need to zoom out for a second. There's 8 billion people on the planet, and because of the internet, you're connected to half of them. And so you need to stop thinking about everyone in your life, the people that you see day to day, as like your entire world. There's so much more out there. And the reason you need to do that is because even if you were ostracized from the group that's in front of you, there's other people out there who you will connect with more, right? What happens is we listen to our own body. We listen to our own instincts that have been developed over time as humans. And it gets dangerous because you try to seek the approval of everyone around you. You hate the idea of anyone not liking you. And when you do find someone who is judging you, or you find someone who might be judging you, then you feel like your entire world is crumbling because you feel like your social status is being destroyed because of this blushing. And that is why you feel the need to hide it. That is why you feel the need to stop it. But you can solve all of that by choosing to value some people's opinions more than others. First of all, realize that you're not going to die. This is not 5,000 years ago when you were in a camp and like if you were ostracized by the group, you would likely die because you would be left alone and you would not have any help from anybody else, and then you'd be attacked by something or you would starve to death. That's what would have happened 5,000 years ago. But today, that is not what happens. You get some weird comment from somebody in the office. That's what happens. That's what we're so afraid about. Like, put it into perspective here, right? And so when I was at that dinner and I turned beet red in front of everybody, in that moment, I reminded myself that there's more people in my world than just these people sitting here in front of me. I reminded myself that the opinions that I truly value are your guys's. And anything that I do in this moment, I would much rather earn your guys' respect than try to earn the respect or gain a favorable opinion by anyone from this table. And so what you must be willing to do is trade the potential judgment from the people in front of you for the praise of the people who matter most to you. I'll say that again. You have to be willing to trade the potential judgment from the people who are in front of you for the praise of the people who matter most. There's more to your world than the people that exist in front of you. There's people who are rooting for you. And if you're not, you need to find them. And I'll give you another example. So 2 days ago, I posted on my personal Instagram a video of me ranting about how unfocused and undisciplined that I've been recently. It was just very raw. It was very vulnerable. I like very little editing at all. And I chose to just rant, get my feelings out there about how frustrated I am at myself. And I chose to post it, and I closed the app. And I didn't check it for an entire day. It just felt like a message that I needed to get off my chest. And I thought that there would be people who could relate. And it felt like something that I needed to open up about because it's been something I felt super embarrassed and ashamed of, is how I've been behaving. And so I felt like just putting it out there and being open and honest about it would make me feel better and help me be more accountable. And so I posted it. And after posting it, I was like, oh, did I make a mistake? Like, oh my God, people are going to think I'm weird. Like, maybe I should go back and delete that. And in fact, I got a message from my mom telling me that asking me if I'm okay because I was just like ranting my feelings. And I was like worried about how it might look. And I was thinking maybe I should delete it and all these things, right? But I reminded myself, no, I made that post for a reason. I made that post for myself to keep me accountable. And I made that post for the people who might be in the same boat. And so, yes, some people back home, they might think it's weird. But am I living my entire life to seek their approval? People who I literally like forgot existed? Or am I living my life to connect with people who truly understand me? Like, am I going to let the imaginary judgment from people that I have no intention of being friends with prevent me from connecting with real people who I actually connect with, who I actually relate to, and prevent them from hearing my messages? I decided that I need to let the people I decided that I'm trying to connect with people that truly understand me. And that matters more than anyone who might not like what they see. And so if you're trying to gain the approval of everyone, it's going to make every blushing moment feel like social death. It's going to feel like your social status is destroyed. But it's not. There's so many people in the world, and you don't need everyone's approval. Trying to please everyone all the time makes you please no one none of the time. You need to choose whose opinion matters most. You have to trade potential judgment for real connection. So take some time to think about the people that you want to live for, the people that you want to make proud. And don't even think about this as solving blushing anymore. It's beyond that. It's larger than that. Think of your life and what you want to accomplish. Just think about something that would be like, man, that would be cool to accomplish. And do that. Make that your mission. Focus on the people who would be proud of you for doing that. Despite the fears, despite the self-doubt, despite the insecurity, despite the shame, despite the embarrassment, despite any of that. Those are just feelings. Are they actually going to limit you from accomplishing the goals that you have in life? Find the people who would be proud of you for taking action towards your dreams. And make sure it's a game that you can win. And then just act in alignment with that. Make those people proud. Because when you're in a blushing situation and you feel yourself starting to panic, if you don't have a bigger vision, if you don't have people that you know will accept you and be proud of you, you're going to freak out because it feels like your world is crumbling. You just need to remind yourself in that moment of what really matters. And hopefully you've made this decision before that moment. So that way when you're in the moment, you don't have to think about it. You just say, it's okay if the people in front of me judge me because I know whose opinion matters to me more. And if any of them try to make fun of you, you can confidently think to yourself, I know I'm turning red. That's not the game that I'm playing anymore. I have a bigger vision for my life, and I'm going to act in alignment with that. In fact, this is me acting in alignment with that. This is me proving that I am in control of my life, not you. And you make your family proud. You make your spouse proud, your partner, your kid, your future self, some celebrity that you really look up to. It doesn't matter. Just pick someone whose opinion matters more to you than the people that are around you when you're blushing. And then you make the emotional and the conscious decision that you're going to do it for them. And then you do it. Because you know what inspires me. You know what gets me to... Let me give you another example, because I don't think you could have too many examples ever. Another example, and I'm coming up with this one just randomly, is right now, I am making a video talking about an insecurity that I used to deal with, guys. And I'm posting it for you. And I'm getting passionate, and I'm being open and honest about the way that I see this for you. And I could sit here, and I could be thinking about the random person that I went to school with, who I used to let control my confidence, who I used to always worry about blushing in front of. And I could be like, oh my gosh, I can't post this because they're going to think I'm weird. I don't care about them. I care about you guys. And you know what? If they do comment something, if they ever were to post something, yes, it would hurt, guys. Yes, I can tell myself I don't care, but let's be honest, we all do a little bit. But the second that I feel that emotional hit of the mean comment that I get, or the comment of judgment from other people saying that this is weird, this is cringy, this is stupid, I can fall back on why I am doing this. At the end of my life, I am not going to be proud of myself if I chose to not post this out of fear of their comment. At the end of my life, I'm going to be proud of myself for helping people who need to be helped. And that is all that I care about. And that's all, The fire that I feel right now is what you need to feel. And you only feel it by tapping into a vision that is larger than the fears that you have. Something that makes facing the fear worth it. You don't need everyone's respect. You just need your own. And you need the respect of someone who you care about more than the people who would judge you for your blushing. Because the people that you actually want to earn respect from, they wouldn't judge you for your blushing anyway. Find those people. Do it for them. Those are the 5 reasons that you probably feel exhausted. And hopefully you took something away from this. You're not broken. You've just been measuring your success by the wrong scorecard. Blushing isn't your problem. The fear of blushing is. Like the identity that you've tied to this. The fact that you think it's destroying your social identity is what's causing your problem. From now on, stop playing a game that's rigged against you. Stop telling yourself, did I blush? Oh my gosh. Or am I thinking about blushing? Gosh, like, why do I always think about this? Stop. Ask yourself, did I respond in the way that I want to? Did I act in a way that would make me feel proud? Am I closer to the life that I want, the dreams that I want to accomplish in this lifetime, regardless of the blushing? Am I making myself and the people that I care about proud? You'll stop feeling tired when you feel inspired by something larger than yourself. And to feel inspired, you just have to start playing a game that you could actually win. And then you go out and you freaking win it. And so if you're ready to win, I would love to work with you. There's a link below these videos and below these podcasts to watch a free training that explains more about my coaching program. And there's also a link to apply directly if you are ready. Coaching is where we go deep. We'll build your identity. We'll help you break these beliefs. I will sit here, and this is a taste of what it might be like. We'll figure out what's going on. We'll figure out exactly what you need to hear, and then I'll help you reframe it and give you direct actions that you need to take so that you can solve this problem for good. And guys, like, I used to have weird feelings around selling too, but like, I'm here to help. And I know that some of you, videos are not enough. I am one of those people. I can sit here and watch free tutorials all day long, but I don't actually do anything with it. I often need a layer of commitment, a layer of support, a layer of accountability in the process to actually make it stick. You don't have to do this alone. You don't have to stay stuck. Your future self is watching you right now. Make them proud. See you guys in the next one.